Hugh Freeze adds a very, very important piece to the Auburn recruiting class. Let's bring on Jeffrey Lee of Auburn Live to talk about it. DeAndre Carter commits. 6'3", 340-pound offensive lineman from Mater Dei High School out there in Santa Ana, California. The first Auburn offensive line commitment in the 2024 cycle. How is Hugh Freeze and his staff able to close on him?
Whew. Well, first getting the guy in the class was huge. I don't know that the last person Auburn signed out of California, at least from a high school kid. Now they went out there for JUCO, but to be able to go out there, sign a high school offensive lineman, a huge priority of need for Auburn. Signing him over Michigan State, signing him over Texas. They prioritized this kid back in the spring, but they didn't know their chances. Like how realistic is it going out to California, Mater Dei of all places, and for Auburn to sign a top recruit? But they got him on campus in June, really made an impression on not only him, but his parents. And then you kind of knew the interest was real in late July when he came back across the country on his own dime to attend Big Cat. And since then, it's been basically a logistics question of when and not if he was going to commit to Auburn.
And Auburn fans have been sweating this one out because they know that Auburn needs to revamp that offensive line, and now they can finally take it a little breather right now after landing DeAndre Carter. But I have a feeling Auburn is not done at the position. What's your thoughts on offensive line recruiting right now?
Offensive line. So Auburn signed a pretty big class last year in 2023. They signed 9 offensive linemen. However, less than half of those guys were high school guys. They went to 4, went to the transfer portal for 4 guys. They got a junior college guy and Tall Miller. So they only signed 4 high school kids in the 2023 class, including the late addition Dylan Senda, who transferred from Northwestern, but he was a high school kid. Mm-hmm. So I'm expecting at least 3 more, and they're probably going to have to flip some guys. Now, a new guy to keep an eye on is Favor Edwin. He is a 3-star. He's very raw, but he's got the physicality. I mean, he's 6'8", he's 290 pounds. He's his first year in football, but Alabama likes him, Florida likes him, Georgia Tech likes him. A lot of these schools are seeing what the potential is with Favor Edwin. So flipping some guys, getting a guy like Favor Edwin, and being able to bring in at least 4 more in this class, I think is going to be very vital for Auburn and the offensive line depth moving forward.
All right, the season's here. We made it through the long, rigorous off season, and Auburn gets off to a great start in week 1. But when will Auburn's first big visit weekend of the fall be?
I'm looking at that Georgia game. I have the Georgia game circled on the calendar. That's the first big home game. You had UMass, and there were some guys there, mostly 2025 guys, and I'm expecting a similar looking list for Sanford in 2 weeks. But that first big home game, Georgia coming into town, I'm expecting them to be ranked number 1 in the country. There's already some official visits getting set up for that weekend. Favor Edwin, the guy I just mentioned, the big offensive lineman from Georgia, he's scheduled to come in that weekend. I think a couple of commitments. I'm also keeping an eye on Kamarion Franklin, the 4-star defensive lineman that committed to Ole Miss over Auburn a week or 2 ago. He was scheduled to come in for the UMass game, but he has postponed, rescheduled, not canceled that visit. So I've got an eye on him that weekend as well. And I expect probably 4 or 5 official visitors that weekend and a huge unofficial visitor list. So that Georgia game is going to be really big for Auburn.
Yeah, not too far away either. Auburn fans, just hang tight. It'll be here before you know it. All right, you mentioned 2025 recruits. Let's talk quarterbacks because some of the top guys are already, if not coming off the board, starting to develop favorites. So Speaking on that, has Auburn identified who their top target is at the quarterback position for the 25 class?
2 of the names that I've heard the most, and like you said, Josh, these kids are coming off the board early. I went and looked. I think 4 of the top 10 on-3 industry ranking quarterbacks in the 2025 class are already committed. Yeah. So, the season is just now getting started. Auburn got their 2024 commitment back in February in Walker White. So in the next few months, all of these kids will be coming off the board. And that's what colleges want. They want to get their quarterback early and then start building around him, that class. 2 names that I've heard the most right now are Deuce Knight, the number 3 quarterback in the country in the on-3 industry ranking, and then George McIntyre, the number 2 on-3 industry ranking quarterback. Both of those guys from Tennessee. Deuce Knight just transferred to Lipscomb from George County, Mississippi. So there's some similarities there. There's something to Hugh Freeze has in common with Deuce Knight. He's also friends with Alvin Henderson, a top running back target for Auburn in the 2025 class. So and then George McIntyre. I think everybody wants this kid.
Yep.
But Hugh Freeze is certainly one of them. I think George McIntyre, Deuce Knight, if Auburn had their way right now, they would, if they had their pick, it would be one of those two guys.
All right, let's switch back to 2024 recruiting real quick. It just seems to me like there's a lot of enthusiasm around Auburn's class right now. How much has it helped to get vocal recruiters on board like a Walker White, like a DeMarcus Riddick, guys that are proud to be Tigers?
Immensely important. I mean, it is for any class, but especially for this Auburn class, because you don't have a lot of proof of concept right now with this Auburn program. You've got one game, and that was just yesterday. So you've got to recruit on camaraderie and hope in the future and what we're going to do together. And having Walker White and DeMarcus Riddick, Perry Thompson, all those guys working on other commitments that they have a lot in common with, they have good friendships with, is going to pay big dividends, or it should pay big dividends for Auburn in the future.
All right. Well, so far so good. 1-0 Auburn. Big recruiting weekend coming up. Thank you, Jeffrey Lee, for stopping by today on the Inside Scoop.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.